Well, a lot to talk about here as we head into the weekend. Just when you thought you knew what was going to happen, winter weather can throw a curve. So let's talk about what is changing here. Alabama weather headlines. It's getting interesting as we head into the weekend. Snow probabilities overall are beginning to increase, primarily in southern Alabama, south of I-85, parts of the Wiregrass, south of central Georgia. But there's a lot to dissect here as we move forward. I want to start with this. Let's go to the Euro model. This is the one that I've been most favoring. It makes the most sense to me. Doesn't mean it's the answer by any means. None of these models are the answer key. We have to kind of take all the data in as we go along. So here is how this plays out starting Saturday night. You can see we've got some moisture creeping in here. Kind of a surge from the Gulf. If we look here, we're going to have a good push of tropical air out ahead of a jet stream, a trough that's going to be dipping well to the south. It could really enhance any sort of precipitation, but again, along the coast. You get to a certain point north and it won't be sustainable. So this plotting most of the snow to the south of I-20, and most of it is fairly light. It's closer to daybreak on Sunday where it gets interesting. You see like an icy mix here. Also, a quick transition over it in parts of the Wiregrass. This is going to be, kind of a photo finish. Again, this is just one model, and watch what happens in Georgia. Sheesh. Heavy snow bands from, Albany over to Statesboro, Georgia Southern. So, again, there's still things to unfold, but the trends are pointing towards better probabilities to the south. All right, so let's go now to the GFS, which has been at times very, very aggressive with the wintry precip. So same starting time, 7 o'clock, and you'll notice a little bit more in terms of coverage here. This is indicating that we could have some light snow beginning Saturday evening and overnight in north and central Alabama. Now, I have my doubts about this, but we'll talk about that. This is much further north placement than what you just saw, but then this kind of lines up with the Euro, showing the better potential of snow down here. So it's not, we're still getting info from this by looking at these models, because the overlap here between what I just showed you and what we're looking at now kind of confirms that area in southern Alabama being the spot to watch as we head into early Sunday morning. This is at about the same time we saw that switch over on the Euro, showing the snow again across the Wiregrass, south central Georgia, and heavy at times, as you can see some of those reflectivity values. So that favors a little bit more of a northerly track. This is a high-res model, and I do not put a lot of stock in this, but I'm showing it anyway because we're showing all of these. That's the only high-res model as of now that goes out this far. This is the in-house Baron 3K, and this is Saturday again, starting at 7. You're going to notice a switch over from a cold rain to snow, but look at the placement of this snow. It's much further to the north, and it's on an even plane, really going all the way up to the Appalachians. This kind of resembles forcing along a cold front. I don't know that is going to actually be there. We'll have to wait and see. But this is at about midnight, showing a good band of snow in central Alabama. And again, this model does not line up with the other. Now, those are global models, so lower resolution, but this does not line up with what those were showing, which was the snow further to the south. Now, eventually it shifts, but notice the difference. Previous models had everything right here. This is north by a good, you're talking about 150, 200 mile shift in that precipitation, whether it's cold rain or it's snow. So eventually, as this pushes forward, that snow line sags to the south, but that is just another look. That one I have the least amount of confidence in at this point. With that in mind, we'll take a look at the totals from that model as it shows here. And again, that cutoff, very stark I-59-20 corridor and south. You have a band right through parts of Cleburne County, Randolph County, Clay County, that are showing some decent totals. But we'll have to give this one a little more time. This is the Euro, so going back to the first thing we looked at. And this one, again, makes the most sense to me based off of the upper pattern. You'll notice there's some spotty accumulation possible up here in the Tennessee Valley area, showing parts of Lauderdale County, perhaps up near Huntsville, seeing some light snow. But down here to the south, again, that's what I'm thinking is probably the most credible at this point. Here's the GFS. This is going to be the most aggressive one in terms of the totals, especially in southeast Alabama. And you can see it brings 2-3 inches all the way up. Now, are we getting 6 inches in Montgomery? I do not think so. I think this model is being way too aggressive with bringing in the snow. Let's see. I'll go to some of the previous runs. So this was the 12Z. That was the 6Z. So that was 2 model runs ago. So that's why you got to look at all of this with kind of a grain or a bucket of salt, if you will. Because the trends are just all over the place. You just saw all 4 model runs in the last 24 hours there, and it's kind of all over the place. But the trend is up, and it's not something that we can ignore. Again, I think this is a bit outlandish here, 6 inches of snow in Montgomery. But hey, we got to watch everything. The NBM is going to take a very reserved, conservative approach. And this is going to take more of the average of kind of the model data, and you're seeing a huge area, a much wider area than will happen with very even number accumulation numbers with regards to snow. So bottom line, it looks like the best bet's going to be in southern Alabama. The extent north is going to be interesting. This is a look at the probability of 1 inch or greater. This is coming off the North American model, and again showing that probability overlapping. Again, we're looking at a trend. Where is this overlapping? Where is that probability the best? And it just seems to be down here across southeast Alabama and really south central Georgia. I mean, south of Macon could be very, very interesting come Sunday morning. So now I want to kind of dissect the upper air, because this is a big part of it too. This is going to be winds at about 500 millibars. So this is going to be up, 16, 17, 18,000 feet up, maybe a little lower than that because it is winter time. But you're going to see a very notable feature swinging here, okay? That is a very strong, very potent trough axis, okay? So what you have here is winds out ahead of it kind of maximized. You also have this kind of vort max here at the very base of the trough. But this could bring about enough moisture, because we've got this southwesterly wind, so naturally the Gulf is here. You usher in a little bit more moisture into the atmosphere, and that could support some convective snow bands. Move this ahead a little bit further, and I want to stop this right here. Okay, so what you're looking at is a kind of a wind max here. So where you're seeing this purple, that is the strongest winds in this trough. So when you have really strong winds aloft and very weak at the surface, relatively speaking, you have what's known as divergence. So you've got air getting evacuated in the upper atmosphere very quickly. So what happens? You have to replace that. So air at the surface rises. It can really enhance precipitation, in some cases, convection. So that'll be something to watch where that sets up, because that could be a dynamic force in play. And should that go right over, southeast Alabama, there would be an enhanced area likely of perhaps snow. And you can see where that max continues over south and central Georgia before finally moving off to the east. And then finally, the last thing I'll look at, because this is the other hesitation I have with this, cold air holds less water. Okay, there's not as much of a volume as a warmer air mass. So considering this is a very cold trough, a very cold air mass associated with this trough, this is a look at precipitable water. So this is Sunday at about 1 o'clock. Notice that line of moisture here. This is critical, because where this moisture availability sets up, you see here over the wiregrass in South Georgia, there's a decent amount. That's pretty good for this time of year, but it's a sharp cutoff to this really dry air. So the question is going to be, can we have enough moisture? And I doubt it in north and central Alabama. I could see it across southeast Alabama where, all signs are kind of trending, but that's the other thing we really have to watch here. So that is kind of the overview of it. Again, Thursday now, we're heading closer. We're going to start to get high resolution model data, and that's going to help us kind of discern this. But fluid process, and winter forecasting is tough, especially in the south. So we'll watch it closely, give you updates as we go. And for those of you doing snow dances, maybe it might be working. So see you next time.